Now, in today's video, we're going to answer a question that's been coming up in my socials quite often, and that is which laser is the best for on site engraving? Which is the fastest laser for on site engraving? And let's face it, the XTOOL F1 OG, the original, is one of the best lasers for on site engraving. It's the most popular one that people are using now. But now you have the WeCreate Lumos. Is the WeCreate Lumos faster? Does it have any advantages over the F1 OG? Well, in today's video, I'm going to share with you an engraving that I did that's going to show you which one is faster. And also, we're going to go over some of the features that make maybe one more preferred than the other. Let's get right to it. Now, Nilda does a lot of engraving and she supports several on site events. We support a lot of pet adoption events, as well as other events where jewelry making is a popular thing. And our go to laser was the F1 OG. It was the most portable. It was the fastest at its time, and it was the most convenient when it came to going on site to do engraving. Well, that was until the WeCreate Lumos. Now, I want to share with you how we get consistent engraving, and I want to share with you my findings on speed, which laser is the fastest. And for us, and I'm sure for you, having a fast laser is important. If you have 20 people in line that are waiting to have a personalized bracelet or charm, and it takes 8 to 10 minutes per charm, you're going to have a long line. You're going to end up taking things home. But what if I told you you can actually reduce that time down to 1 to 2 minutes? I probably have your attention right now. Imagine what that will do and how much you can engrave on site or even in your home. Reducing the amount of time it takes to create an engraved product is critical. Not only that, but also having a precise engraving. So if you're doing some charms, or let's say you're supporting a wedding or you're doing a cotillion or any kind of special event, and you need to create multiple items of the same type, you want all of those items to be engraved the same and you want them to be in the same spot. That's where our jig system comes in. Nilda has over 350 jigs that support laser engravers and UV printers. So if you're looking to get precision, if you're looking to get consistency, and you want to show up like a pro, then you'll want to take advantage of this jig system that supports, again, not only the XTOOL line and the WeCreate line, but also various fiber lasers that are available on the market, UV lasers and UV printers, which is something that's becoming more and more popular. Consistency is the key to showing up and standing out. So take a look at this. We have right here, this is a jig, and this is a jig for a XTOOL charm. This is, I think they're called their rectangle charm. And I have here an engraving. And this engraving that you see right here was done on the F1 and on the WeCreate. And we actually, what we do is we use these jigs. We have a jig converter that basically allows you to use this jig in the WeCreate and also this jig in the F1 Ultra. So you can go from machine to machine. Or if you have the WeCreate and you'd like to take advantage of all our jigs, you can do that by simply getting the adapter that I'll include in the description area. Now, uh, let's look at this charm for a second. So this charm was engraved. Let me wipe it off because it has my fingerprints. This charm was engraved. One side was with the Recreate, and then one side was with the F1 OG. And how I can tell between them is basically by touch and quality. Now, let's face it, the WeCreate is a little bit more powerful. It's a 3-watt IR laser versus what you have on the XTOOL F1, which is a little bit smaller. And so it's expected that it should be able, because it has more power, go faster. And a matter of fact, it does. So what you're going to see in this video are all my settings that I use to create this. So this side that you see right here, this is the side that we engraved with the Lumos, and you can see that. And then when I flip this over, this side right here was the one that we created with the actual F1 OG. Big difference is time. We're talking not 1 minute, not 2 minutes, not even 4 minutes, but in some cases, over 6 minute difference. Imagine what you could do with 6 minutes. Imagine how many more customers you can turn over, and imagine how much product you'll be able to create. And let's not forget this. This is the critical thing about speed. When you're working or operating a laser, you have to be present. So if you are engraving something and it takes 8 minutes, that means you're sitting next to that machine for 8 minutes. If I could cut that time down to 2 minutes, to 2.5 minutes, that means that you get over 5 minutes to invest in some other part of your business. It could be client contact, it could be client outreach if you're doing this from your home office or your studio, wherever it could be. Those 5 minutes can be invested somewhere else. So let's go ahead and check it out. Now, one of the most standout features for the WECREAT Lumos is the camera. And as you can see here, this is the camera. This is how good the camera is. And it makes a significant difference when it comes to engraving jewelry or small items, specifically because of the accuracy of the camera. Now, I've worked with many lasers, and while many of them will profess to have a good camera, accuracy sometimes is a struggle. That's not the case with the WECREAT Lumos. Now, the other thing that I find that's interesting and also I think very welcoming is the workflow. Now, one of the things I would say right out is that I find that the XTOOL software seems to be slightly more mature than the WECREAT one. Slightly more mature. And I would also say that the materials list that XTOOL has is probably a little bit more robust as well. That's just in my opinion. That said, there are several neat features that I appreciate from a workflow perspective that make this product a product that I would probably choose to take with me to a farmer's market, to an on-site engraving event, because the product works so well. In addition to the camera, and you can see here that we have one of our jigs with our jig adapter that allows us to use, one of almost 340 jigs that we have inside of the WECREAT. But what it also has is some really cool workflow tools. So for example, what you're going to see here is that there's a framing button. Now, at the same time, we're going to be able to bring up our overhead showing the WECREAT Lumos, and you'll see the jig. I'm going to go ahead and open up the actual shield. You can see our jig is here in place. And the cool thing about our jig system is that pretty much what you could do is you can just put any jig of the 250, or actually 350 jigs into the system by simply just sliding them into place, just like this. So once you have that in place, you're set to go. Now, I've already pre-focused, so everything is good here. I'm going to close the cover here. And the other thing that you notice that is another standout feature compared to the F1 and the F1 light from XTOOL is that it has a built-in light. There's no jerry rigging. There's no extra light that you have to add. I really love the fact that they have a lighting system in there because it does make a difference. Now, let me show you how quickly this camera will refresh. I'm going to hit the refresh, and what we'll see is the camera will refresh and show the content. You saw how fast it was. You saw a slight shift when it took place. Now, another neat workflow tool that they have in their software is when I'm going to frame. When we frame on some of our other lasers that do have lights, we sometimes find ourselves trying to cover the light so we can see the frame. Watch what happens when you use the WECREAT software. I'm going to hit framing, and look at this. The light turned off. Let me open up the shield. Now you can see there really clearly that the actual framing is spot on. It looks really well aligned, and the light turned off. I love that feature. I'm going to stop the preview. Watch what's going to happen. Light's going to turn on, just like that, right? So these are the little things that I really like about the software that would make this product something that I would take with me versus some of the other lasers in the market, like a laser pecker or the XTOOL F1 or F1 Lite, that don't have a lighting system or have this cool workflow. So here's the other piece. I'm going to go ahead and hit start, right? And we haven't spoken about speed yet because speed is definitely one other reason. I'm going to choose start. And what you'll see here is you get a preview, right? You're able to see your engraving. You can see the processing time. And guys, 2 minutes and 49 seconds for this level of engrave at this quality is very good for a laser that is as portable as this. But there's another feature here. Notice what I have here. I have a couple options here. I could basically do a rectangle frame, which we just did, or I could do a contour frame, right? And when I do the contour frame, I'm going to open up the shield again. Now, what I see is the light turned off, and it's showing me the contour, right? I can then switch from contour to rectangle, still in that area, right? That is super cool. It's a very thoughtful, I would say one of those convenient features where the actual laser workflow really aligns with what you do as a laser engraver. Because I don't have to cancel out of this, right, to go over here like you would in other software. I'm actually able to do that when I'm about to print, or in this case, engrave.
I love that feature. I love that workflow. Now let's go ahead and send. And I'm going to let this run real time so that we can see what's going on. And I'll describe what's going on. So I'm going to hit send. And what you're going to see is the animation is basically indicating lower the shield, which we already have. And the second piece is press the button, which I'm going to press. And what will happen is the engrave will commence. So you see your time. And what I found is, and the software is being upgraded continually, that I don't think the time is accurate, truly. As I've manually timed it, I found that the timing is slightly off, but off in the positive, not in the negative, meaning that you basically have a solution that's faster than what's published. What you can see here is the actual real-time speed of this laser engraving. Guys, this is no joke. Imagine yourself being at your table at a farmer's market or any kind of fair, and someone coming to you to do a personalized keychain like this. And them waiting minutes, because they're going to be there standing. You could send them away, but if you want to be able to churn over business, so like typically when my wife and I do this, we're basically a tag team. My wife is the face of the business. It's her business. I'm her technical support. I'm just working on the technology side. And I am basically doing this kind of stuff for her while she's working with the customer. I could be doing this engraving while she's talking, and look at where we are already. Look at how much has been engraved. This is going pretty fast. Right, so right now the slowest part is going to be the word blessed, because again it's basically going to be a little bit longer, and it's not as full when it comes to the engraving like you saw with the actual logo that you saw there. The other thing I like about the engrave that we're getting with the Lumos is that it is not terribly deep, where I'm going to be concerned about oxidation, which is also a concern of mine. This is generating some really nice blacks, and it's doing it in a way where it's not embedding itself so deeply into the actual jewelry piece where it could catch on a blouse, it could catch on a shirt, right? Because this pendant right here could be made for a man or for a woman. Really doesn't matter. I'm just using this as an example, but there's a lot of different choices here. Matter of fact, the piece that's taking the longest is the actual word blessed. Everything else is moving pretty fast. So you can see how it's almost done already. And one other thing that sets this apart is that once it's going to be done with this laser engraving, it's going to do an outline. The outline makes anything that it engraves crispy sharp. Watch this. So this is the outline process now taking place. And what it just does is it makes whatever it engraves highlighting even more. Now, you could do this with the F1. You could do this with the F1 Lite. You could do this with a laser pecker. You could do this with any laser that's on the market, fiber lasers, any of like the lasers that we looked at, and it's done. It is done. You could do this with any of those lasers, but the difference is that you have to add that extra step. The WECREAT Lumos does that automatically for you. Now, when I open this up, you're going to see that it looks a little dirty, right? Because as it's doing its, the laser's working on the actual metal, there's a transformation that takes place. And it does look a little dirty, right? So let's go ahead and zoom in. Right, so that's what it looks like. We're going to wipe that off, and we're going to see what it looks like right now. Now I'm going to try first with my finger to wipe it off, just to see what happens. Just to take off what's ever there. Now I would wipe this off with alcohol, something just to clean this off. And what I want you to see is what we have here. Check that out. Isn't that awesome? Look at that mark. Super nice and black mark, and that just took minutes. Not 7 minutes, not 10 minutes, but that was under 3 minutes. We'll look at what the actual time was on the clock. Fantastic, and it aligned well. Now, this is XTOOL's Creative Space, and as I mentioned before, it has a lot of capabilities, and in my opinion, it has more capabilities than most of the applications that are out there that focus on laser engraving. I want to highlight one of the things that I really like about their solution, and that is their material library. So they have a massive, massive material library, probably one of the most mature material libraries that I've seen in any product. For each one of their products, with dozens, I don't know what the count is, but just so much when it comes to, how those settings would work. Now, WeCreate has also a good library, but I just think that XTOOL has a bit more. Now, when we look at the software, one of the things I wanted to do is make sure that we did things like for like. So you'll notice here I have the actual, this is a screenshot that I took of the WeCreate screen. And I wanted to bring these here so that you can see that, I'm sizing everything exactly the same. So we have the size of the graphics, the size of the text, everything is the same. And this is what we're going to be engraving, right? So we're going to make sure that this is nicely aligned, right? So we have some cool alignment tools. So this is aligned. And we're going to group these together, right? So that we're going to go ahead and group them so they're together. Now, in order to be able to engrave, I'm trying to keep like for like. In order to be able to get the dark settings that we see with the other software, with the WeCreate Lumos, this is what we'll have to do. Now, we've done a lot of testing. We do a lot of jewelry on the F1. And as I mentioned, the F1 was the one that we would take with us if we were going to do any type of on-site engraving because of the overall speed. But let me show you what settings have worked for us when it comes to engraving. Now, IR laser, power 100, and then we have the speed is 2, right? Passes 140 lines per centimeter is what I'm using, and that's because when I look at the WeCreate software, you'll notice right here I have 110, and I have 140. Now, I would say that in order to get the type of engrave that I want on the F1, I typically have to have this set at 300. But I want to make sure that we're having kind of like similar resolution just so you can see the difference. Typically, I'd have to change it. But let me show you what happens. If I change this to 300 and I hit process, right? My F1 is connected. You'll notice right here, it would take 17 minutes to do that engraving. 17 minutes, right? If I go over here and I were to, let's say, change this back to, let's say, 140, right? And we'll see what the quality looks like. It may do fine. So that we're like for like, 140. And then I hit process. What you're going to see is the time, estimated time is going to be 8 minutes and 36 seconds. Now, I will say that XTOOL's software is very mature, and that's pretty accurate. That's what it's going to be. So as we take a look at what's going on the laser now, you'll notice we have the same jig. The same jig is being used with that. I just plopped it in because our jig system is universal. And I've already focused, and you'll notice that there's no light. The other thing that you'll notice is that I have no way to see if I'm aligned correctly by looking it on the screen. And you'll also notice that I don't have a framing option here that I can kick off, right? So I really can't do anything here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, and I'm going to hit frame. Now, once the framing kicks in, and it looks like we lost connectivity. Let me go ahead and connect again. Now, to be able to see where the actual image is going to lay, I'm going to go ahead and hit frame. And you'll see now on the other camera, the actual framing take place. And what I'll do is I'll just use my up, down, left, right arrow key to adjust the actual image to make sure that it's in the right spot. All right, so now that looks like it's pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the actual framing model to do an outline just to see if it's aligned. And then I'm going to flip that specific charm over so we can do the opposite side. All right, so that looks pretty accurate. What we're going to do now is we're going to stop the framing. I'm going to go back to process. I'm going to hit start, but I'm also going to flip that charm so I can do the opposite side. Let's go ahead and start. It's going to send the job, and now it's over on the F1. All I have to do is press the button, and it will start to engrave. Now, the F1 is going to do a great job with this engrave. I expect that it will be. It has been our go-to laser. The item that we're focusing on here is time. And how much time does it take to engrave with one laser versus the other? And how does that translate to the workflow that you have when you're at a specific event, or even when you're doing this in your shop or from home? Speed matters. You know, the time it takes for you to complete an engrave reduces. If you can reduce that, it allows you to do other things. And let's not forget that you have to be present when the laser is operating. So right now, as the F1 is engraving, I can't leave it unattended. There's a safety issue if you do. You have to be with it. So if I could take a laser engraving job and take it from 8 minutes down to 2 minutes, 3 minutes, that gives me 5 minutes to do other things. I'm not focused just on the laser. Now, XTOOL has other lasers. They have the F1 Lite, but the speed that you're running into, you're not going to really see, any kind of acceleration. The only time you're going to be able to get some type of acceleration is really going to like an F1 Ultra or an F2 Ultra, because those are more powerful machines. But with that power comes size. They're not as easy to carry if you want to take it to a trade show. This is why the F1 is really the machine that people are using right now and taking with them to themselves to trade shows to do both jewelry and wood, and we are as well. But now you have the WECREAT LUMOS, which is going to reduce the amount of time it takes to engrave significantly, and has a camera which is going to help with more accuracy and also the whole overall workflow when it comes to engraving. Let's let this run. We're going to let it run just to see how long it takes to complete, so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is a little light that I bring in when we're working on this guy. We'll put it right here, and we'll see what we got. Now, this, okay, didn't have to wipe it off much. And let's see if we can get that on camera really good. All right, so again, we have a good engrave. You can see that right there. This is the F1. And what we're going to do is let's bring this out to a different light, because I think this is a little bit challenging. All right, so we're back to the Lumos, and this is going to give us a better light so that we can engrave more. And I'm a little far from the camera because I'm by the laser, but what you can see here is we got a really nice engrave coming from the F1. So what I'll say that when I touch it, it's rougher, the surface, and you can see what that looks like right there. Let's go ahead and flip it, and we'll take a look at what the WECREAT engraving looks like with those same settings. All right, so let's go ahead and put it at an angle. There you go. We can see the black. And what I'll say with this, it feels a little bit smoother to the touch, right? But here you have WECREAT, and then here you have F1. I think that both of them, if we were just to be, both of them engraved, both of them were able to give us, again, a dark mark, but one took 3 minutes and the other one took 8. So guys, did those results surprise you? They surprised me. Make sure you follow us for more, and see you in the next video.